Yes. Coffee. 1, 2.
Yeah. Yeah. It's legit. Yeah. All right. Man, this is awesome, man. Again, brother, thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah. How long have you been doing this?
I've had my podcast for like 3 years, going on 3 years. This year, because boxing has like back up more. We're going on live frequently. I'm doing this thing where we go on at least once a week, at least once a week. So at the end of this season, hopefully we have 52 episodes.
Beautiful.
Yes. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Yes,
Bop, bop, bop.
awesome.
Very
That
good.
sounds great.
Perfect.
That sounds amazing. All right. Okay. Well, we're ready, man. Are you currently in Puerto Rico right now?
No, I'm from Puerto Rico, but I'm living in Texas.
Oh, wow. All right.
Arlington.
Hold that thought. We're going to pick up there. All right. So in 3, 2, 1, we'll go live, brother. All right. So let's get this done. Audio's awesome. Sounds look good. Water sponsor. All right. Here we go. And USB audio. Start recording. All right, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Box Tunnel. We have an extremely special show. No introduction necessary, but I'm going to let him take over and let him tell you who he is. Take it away, brother.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Angel from El Pugilato podcast, usually in Spanish, but we run it in English whenever we want to meet up with people that only speak English, like Nino. So I'm a guest today on his podcast, but we do it Spanish, English, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, but actually, I speak Spanish. I'll be honest. I've spent like my last 2 years in Japan, and I was actually just speaking to my grandma about that because I used to speak to her in Spanish every single day, every day. Yeah, every day. So obviously, and I would use it a lot more, especially because I'm from Texas as well, right? And I hope everyone back at home in Texas, I hope you're warm. I hope you find some safe comfort, and I pray that anyone who doesn't finds some refuge somewhere and hang in there. Speaking of that, brother, how are you? You doing all right?
Yeah, we're good. We didn't lose power at home or water. So we're good. Thankfully, thank God, we're good. But a lot of people didn't. A lot of people were in deep trouble. A lot of people lost power for a good couple of days, or maybe they haven't gotten it back yet. So, Texas is not built for this. Texas is built for tornadoes and hot season, but not like 4 inches of snow, So unfortunately, a lot of people weren't ready for this. That's what happens, man. It's sad. I think you froze up a little bit. I think Nino is frozen for a second. Let's see when he comes back. I can hear you, but I can't see you move freely. You seem frozen. Maybe he's just playing tricks on me. There you go.
No. What about, is it okay now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. So Angel, if you can tell us a little bit about your podcast.
El Pugilato podcast is a platform meant for the main purpose was just talking about combat sports. Boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, judo, wrestling, pro wrestling, whatever, you name it, it's going to be on the podcast. So the main thing that I wanted to do was have guests on every episode from whatever platform, from boxing or boxing coaches or boxers. But then it just morphed into maybe sometimes I would be talking about whatever event was coming up, and then maybe I had a guest on the other episode. So you never know what's gonna happen. I usually try to have a guest on every episode, but if I don't, then I just do one myself and I just talk about what's going on. Because since I have such a big pool of subjects to pick from, I can wing it sometimes like that, and I can definitely just do it myself. But the goal is to have a guest on each episode.
Yeah, and can you tell everyone where they can find your podcast?
Yes, on most podcast platforms, audio, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Apple, whatever, all of it except SoundCloud. I'm not on SoundCloud because they charge you after a certain amount. So I'm on the most popular ones, and then the video you can find it on YouTube. El Pugilato TV, ELPUGILATO TV, and then there you can find all the episodes. And I do videos. I was reluctant on doing short videos, like analyzing fights or whatever, but that's how the Hispanic market moves. They prefer short videos rather than long conversations. So I do both because I prefer the long conversations.
Yeah, I think that just has to do with, like, honestly, we're living in a new day where, like, attention span you have to adapt to it. So yeah, like, that's actually like one adjustment. I do like the videos, but I've been adding like effects and music. I think I like it. I think it engages the audience a little bit longer. But yeah, I've seen the benefit of both, like long videos and short videos for sure. How long have you been running your podcast?
I had one in English, late 2018 or early 2019. It was called Angel's Combat World. And I did that for a little bit, but then I thought about it and I was really bad. At first, I used to, like, it's still on YouTube, you can just go and listen to it. Horrible. I used to record on like those $8 microphones that you would buy at Walmart. Dude. Horrible. But I thought about it and I stopped it like in 2019 in like August-ish. I said, listen, I'll just the English market I thought was too crowded. And or maybe not too crowded, but maybe the Hispanic market didn't have a platform like what I wanted to do. Because at the end of the day, I don't know about you, but most people that want to build podcasts and talk about combat sports, we were all inspired by Joe Rogan at some point. And that there's nothing like that on the Hispanic side, I think. And there's not like a long form, cool, like podcast that gives a platform to different subjects in the combat sports world in Spanish. So I said, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to try to be the greatest at it. Not there yet, but I'm on my way. I'm on my way.
Yeah, man. Like, we were just, before we actually went live, I was just like commending you on and complimenting you on your backdrop, man. Definitely like an inspiration. I love the drop, man. It looks awesome, man. And I can't wait to, like, I'm free. I can, when I move back to the States, I plan to do like a lot more like that. Right now, like, the Japanese apartments, they're like a good size, but they're basically like a good size for you to live. So to have like a whole extra corner like that, it would be like a little tricky, but definitely like it's inspiration right there, man. that's
cool, man.
Stuff, man. So we have big fights coming up this weekend. I want to start with, are you excited to see Adrian Broner back in the ring?
Yes, I am. I am not a huge fan of, his persona out of the ring. But I don't want to judge him either. We all had, we're a product of where we were raised, and we all had dumb friends, and I'm sure he has a lot of dumb friends that unfortunately will have led him to take dumb decisions. But he, inside the ring, he is world-class A+ talent. There's no denying that. And I mean, he's coming back against a Puerto Rican dude who they threw in there as cannon fodder. But Giovanni is his name, Giovanni Santiago. He's good. Let's not get it twisted here. Like if Broner, if he doesn't mind his P's and Q's, he can get in trouble because Giovanni is very disciplined. He's no nonsense. He's very good. But I think Broner is A+ world class boxing. Like his talent is too high. I think he wins. But if he's not that Broner, if he's not the world class caliber Broner, then he can get in trouble.
Yeah, and actually, one of my friends, we actually have him on here often. His name is Prophecy. He does gaming, and he's also, part of. He likes to watch combat sports. He says one thing so far about Broner is that he seemed to mature a bit. Now let's see if that helps. If it helps after the W. So I think many people are already like writing this fight off, but people have to remember Santiago is undefeated. It's not easy, even if you technically, or you'll hear this term a lot, like they picked opponents for like up and coming boxers. Even if you still have to go in there and still do a job, because I've seen a lot of fights where people feel like they should have went in there, handled business, and got that person out of there. And it's not always like that. I think the most recent example of that I feel is like when Devin Haney fought Gamboa. So yes. I feel like a lot of people felt that he should have took him out of there. They even gave Tank a lot of rap for like going the distance with him when he did. I think they sources say, I don't know exactly how true it is, he had a torn Achilles. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine being in a ring with a torn Achilles. And on top of that, I already respect every single fighter. But that's what I want people to take from this segment is that these humans in there putting their life on the line, they are true warriors, and we need to respect them no matter who it is. So just because you haven't heard of this person doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bum. That's like one big thing in boxing that I dislike. I really do. Like, because you haven't heard of this person doesn't mean that it was like like given a cherry pick. Like many people feel that way about when Andrew Reese beat Anthony Joshua. Many people didn't know that Andrew Reese was a top level fighter. He fought
casual fans,
right, for casual fans, right? So yeah, that's one big thing about boxing, man. So who's your favorite boxer?
Active right now?
Yeah, active or in the past, whichever. Who
active?
Who do you like?
This lady, Amanda Serrano.
Okay,
she's my favorite. But she's gonna be up there forever and ever. She's my favorite boxer. She's still active. But on the guy's side, for sure, as a Puerto Rican, it has to be Felix Tito Trinidad. He's over here. He's the most beloved human in the island. And the one that gave us the most, like, he made us feel the highest of highs. If for people that aren't Puerto Rican, it's really hard to explain how much he meant to us and how much he still means, because he's not dead. He's just retired. He's not even 50. If go to YouTube and look at his fights in Madison Square Garden, when he took Joppy's head clean off his shoulders, that the Madison Square Garden was gonna explode. It was nothing but Puerto Ricans in there, and Tito for sure is the highest. I would say the most beloved person in Puerto Rico's history. Not only athlete or entertainer or whatever. Like wherever he goes, Tito chants break out. People cry. People want their T-shirts signed. They throw babies at him. No, yeah, for sure. Go to YouTube, people, and check out Tito's homecoming celebration. Whenever he would win a fight, and the amount of people, thousands and thousands of people, wait at the airport, go with him. Like it looked like a political rally, but it wasn't. It was people just carrying their hero on their shoulders. It was a beautiful thing. Like Tito in his prime, and what he did for the island, it was a beautiful thing, for sure.
Yeah, I think there are only a few other people who've like captivated that type of audience, or captivate who have brought of movement. I feel like Senator Manny Pacquiao, definitely.
Yes.
I feel like Julio Cesar Chavez in Mexico, and I think that which brings me to my next question.
Hmm.
How, because I'm sure you experienced like Oscar de la Hoya and Felix Trinidad uh, during that time.
Hmm.
I had this discussion with Miss Christina Lopez the other day. So
Yes,
and I
the big
and I
boss.
don't know. Yeah, well, let's just take this time to wish them good luck. You know, they're headed overseas to take
Yeah,
care of
Bulgaria, I think.
Yes, sir. So good luck to Team USA, and God bless and safe travels.
Yeah.
So
Much love to Team USA, and much love to Christine, who she's amazing.
yeah, yeah, I could go on and on. She's yeah, very yeah, dear, very
She's
dear.
awesome.
Yeah. So how do you feel about this? Because I want to take your opinion, because I'm sure you lived through that hype of that
Hmm.
fight, and
Hmm.
every time it seems like there's a Puerto Rican, and every time it seems like there's a Mexican, that is always the front sell. I hate
Hmm.
it. I personally hate it. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's like
Why?
this is why I hate it, because I understand, like, okay, promoters try to sell it Puerto Rican versus Mexican. It's going to be a war. Yes, we know that. But as boxers, when they finish, they hug it out.
Yeah.
They've traded that mutual respect.
Hmm.
For the people in the comment section, they don't hug it out. They drag it, and then it becomes
I agree.
personal. It becomes extremely personal. And that's what I don't like. I just think right now, the way the world is right now with the amount of division, I
I
just
agree.
don't like it. I don't like it, because if let's remove their nationalities, where they're from. Let's remove Oscars and Tito's. As people and as boxers and just their characteristics alone, they're amazing people and they're
Yeah.
great fighters, and that alone would sell it all. But I feel like it gets overshadowed with where you come from, or what race you are, or whatever. How do you feel? How do you feel?
About that subject,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Because
I understand why promoters do it,
yeah,
and I understand they're trying to sell tickets, and that war, that flag against flag war, is always going to sell tickets. Now, should it not be used because people in the comment section, some people in the comment section are not, I don't want to say, I don't want to insult anybody, but they aren't, they don't use it correctly, and they abuse the space they are giving in the comment section, then, you know, I understand. I don't want any division. And I am a fan of not bullying, but I am, because bullying is bad because people can't defend themselves. But I am a fan of hyping up stuff, and making the fight hot, and talk. I'm a fan of trash talking to a degree. If you hug it out at the end, if it's not personal, but people get carried away, and I don't know how you can work that out to where those kind of people don't have access. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because it's fun. Trash talking is fun if you keep it inside, if you keep it like within boxing terms, and fighting words. As long as no family is involved, and no dumb stuff. If you keep it spicy and fun, I like it. I'm not gonna lie. I like a good press conference. You know what I mean? But then I think of the kids too. So I don't know. I don't know what me personally, as an adult, I like when they hype it up, like you said.
yeah. And it goes back to, that's why I brought this up, because it went back to like how certain individuals can captivate a space of place, right? A country, territory.
Hmm.
So, and that's why I don't mind it, because I know when Manny Pacquiao fights, the Philippines stops. Like I have,
Shuts down.
yeah, I have like discussed like with people from the Philippines here, and they're like, no, you don't understand. And I'm like, I can't imagine. He's like, when Manny Pacquiao fights, like it's a standstill. And I know for the people of the Philippines, that pride brings a lot of pride to them. So in that aspect, I love it. But like you said, if we could find a way as the people in the comment section, because it's not even the boxers, because like you said, and I mentioned, like they hug about 95% of the time, unless it's really, really, really heated still after the fight, they hug it out and then it's done. And then you actually see years from now, those people are like golfing together or are like on a trip together. And I love it. And I love it. It brings people together.
I love it too.
When I just wish that it was not the forefront of selling it. It was not the first avenue of selling a fight. It's
so easy though.
That's exactly
you know what I mean?
About to say. I was exactly about to say that. There's a promoter. I'm not going to say which promotion company, but I've noticed that.
Why not? Say why? Well, this is your space. I'm gonna respect. I'm more. I don't like them. So, but I'll respect your space. I'll respect your approach.
And I think when I mention it, you will maybe you'll see. It's one of the big four, right? So they do it more than the other promotion companies, and to me, I don't like it because I've noticed that when they do it, it's from countries where their promotion company is not based out of. So it's always like, look at this war between this country and this country, but when we showcase one of our boxers who's from our country, it's a whole different narrative. It's like, oh, look at this boxer, what he does for the community, which I don't care, right? What he does for the community. Look how generous this person is, how much of a humanitarian he is. So I noticed that this company does it more, and I always hate it because I feel like it's always they use it just as a selling instead of really highlighting who those boxers are. But like you said, it's extremely easy and it sells. It sells. That's the most important part.
Yeah. Is that promoter? Does that promoter look like he's 97 years old?
No.
No, it's not that one. All right, cool. I thought I should guess.
No, that's I love it. Quick second. I want to give a shout out to Ricky Williams. He says, "Do your thing, Box Hanoi." They just subscribed, so thank you so much. Please be sure to subscribe to El Pugilato. Yes. I want to take this time because I saw last weekend you posted a video about the Usman fight, and you were like, "I need this. There's levels." I'm gonna be honest. I'm a casual UFC fighter. I'm not going to lie. In 2018,
fighter? Are you a fighter?
Sorry. Fan. I'm more casual. I'm gonna be honest. In UFC, boxing, I love. But especially my friend Prophecy. He always tells me about like the big fights and stuff. And I want to know because I've seen like the big names that you can think of in UFC because that's when I watch. That's why I say I'm a casual, and that's why I keep all comments to myself because I don't know enough, right? So I want to know, like, for you, is Usman the best UFC fighter that you have seen?
No.
Okay, who do you feel is better than him?
Right now, that's active.
Or prior.
Oh, prior, I can think of. Well, on the same division, on 170 pounds.
Yeah.
I think.
Or as a whole, would you consider him? I know this is a bit hard on UFC, but like pound for pound.
He's pound for pound now. Like on what day is it today? February 19th, 2021. He's pound for pound right now for sure. Pound for pound active. He's top 10 for sure. Yeah, on the active roster, but all time I don't have him even on the top 20.
Okay, who would you say number one all time?
I'm gonna be biased towards Anderson Silva because that's him. That's who I when I first got into the sport and I first fell in love with MMA, he was the guy. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah. He actually broke his leg at one point too in a fight, right?
Unfortunately, yeah, he was gonna leg kick. He leg kicked Chris Weidman, and Chris Weidman turned his leg perfectly so his shin met the top of his knee and just snapped it like a cracker. Yeah. Just think of Roy Jones in his prime in boxing in like 95, 94, 96-ish. That's Anderson. Same thing, but in MMA. He couldn't be touched. there, but I'm being biased towards him because he's the guy I love, and I still think he has to be up there. But if I'm being honest and I'm taking the blinders off, it it has to be maybe Fedor Emelianenko, who hardcore fans know. Back before the UFC was popular, there was a company called Pride Fighting Championships based out of where you're at right now, Japan.
Oh wow.
They had the greatest people on planet Earth that were MMA fighters. They were active early 2000s, 2000 from 2000 through I would say 2007 ish. But they had all the biggest fights, and the people that Fedor Emelianenko beat, people like Mirko Krokop, Nogueira, Kevin Randleman, Mark Coleman, Bob Sapp. I think he met. I don't know if he beat him, but I'm sure he did. Like the people that know that, and they still think of him as the greatest fighter of all time. But it has to be divided in eras, because things change, training changes, and back then in Pride, everybody was on the juice. Everybody, bro. Everybody was on Mexican supplements.
Man, yeah.
Everybody, brother.
Wow. Yeah, I only say that because out of all the UFC fights I have seen, I feel like him and Khabib, I feel like they have put on performances that I have literally been like mind blown. Like, oh my goodness, like that plan was executed like to the T. And I know, like I feel like so let me move forward with that. So I just felt like I want to know if I'm witnessing one of the greatest like ever, because like I feel like in soccer right now, like if you watch Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, you are literally watching history. You are watching me and my friend Anthony Salas, who actually comes on our show often too. We're discussing that. It's like sometimes people just get caught up in the argument between those two, and they don't realize what is in front of them. And then many people feel like that about Tom Brady and LeBron James. So I wanted to know, like, okay, because I'm a casual, do I just find this extremely impressive, or is this one of the greatest of all time? Which brings me to my next question for you, which one of our viewers says, who do you have on your GOAT conversation for the UFC? GOAT. So GOAT.
Greatest of all time.
Yep.
Fedor never fought on the UFC on that particular promotion, so he's out of the question. I'm gonna have to say Anderson. Let's do just guys, because I have Amanda Nunes too. She's a savage, like on the girl side. But on just guys, I have to say Anderson Silva, Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson has to be up there. And Habib only defended his title like 3 times. So even though he did incredible, amazing things, at the end of the day, you got to defend that strap more than that. You know what I mean? Like Anderson defended it, I think, more than 10 times. Mighty Mouse also did that. And even though I don't want to have him up there, I got to have him, Johnny Bones Jones. He's done a lot of nasty stuff outside of the cage. He for the longest time, he was a black eye on the sport. But what he does inside the octagon is like, you can't even explain it to people. So I think those 3 and Amanda Nunes, they're my Mount Rushmore, let's say. I got to say Anderson, Johnny Bones Jones, Amanda Nunes, and Mighty Mouse. Those 4. I left out George St. Pierre. I think John Jones was more like incredible than St. Pierre, but St. Pierre has to be in the conversation too. All those names, like, for if you're not a hardcore MMA fan, like, most people don't know, because some of those names are from a previous generation, maybe like mid 2000s. People only know now like Habib or Conor or Kamaru Usman. But those five that I just mentioned, they're the backbone of MMA greatness, I think.
I'm happy. I know those five, so maybe I keep up with it. I do know. Yeah. So this brings me to, because you made an interesting point about outside of the ring, right? To you, a UFC fan, someone who loves the sport and covers it and enjoys discussing it, what do the Diaz brothers mean to UFC for you?
Well, to UFC, the company, or to MMA, the sport?
The legacy. Oh yeah, the sport. Because I feel like I have a good idea of what they mean to the company, but I want to know from your standpoint, what do the Diaz brothers, and do you feel like they have been not mistreated, but misrepresented and treated unfairly? What do you think?
Well, first of all, what do they mean? Wow. Like to the people that followed them and the people that have been able to watch them fight, like Nick Diaz beat Robbie Lawler in the early 2000s. Like, he's been fighting forever. They are MMA royalty. That's what I think. That's what they feel like. They are MMA royalty. What they did at the beginning, in the early days of the sport, when it was still a dark sport, especially Nick, because Nick started earlier, the older brother. He was there when the sport was still like, it was more popular overseas than it was in the States, and it wasn't legal yet in a bunch of states. I think both of them are MMA royalty, and especially for one generation is going to be Nick, because he was there before everything was cash money, and before the big pay-per-views, before the bright lights. He was there beating people that eventually became world-class champions, and he beat people everywhere too. Strike Force, Elite XC, Dream, Pride. He was everywhere. And then Nate, the younger brother, he was a late bloomer, let's say, because he wasn't a pay-per-view guy until he choked out Conor. And that is one of the greatest moments in MMA history, I think. It has to be. It has to be. And then outside of the cage, have they been mistreated or misrepresented? Maybe, but then also they're not the most disciplined people when it comes to, like, they are very disciplined when it comes to training and always being in shape. They do triathlons. If I wouldn't know, I would think they were born with like 4 lungs, because they can go for days. Like, they never get tired. Like, they do triathlons a couple of triathlons every year. They're crazy. I don't know how they do it. And then they have a similar style, the pace that they set. They don't hit you 100%. They chase you down. They start pity patting, and then when they catch you, then they turn on the gas, and then eventually they build up until you're like in quicksand. You can't move, and that's because their cardio was so great. But that's inside the octagon. Outside the octagon, they live their life how they want to live it. They're not the most disciplined when it comes to business, let's say, and I think that cost them a lot of money, and it cost them a little bit of their legacy, I think. But you gotta have both things. You gotta have that discipline outside the octagon to deal with business, to be there on time, to kind of let your arm be twisted for a little bit, so then you can get more money on the next one or whatever. But you gotta respect them for being able to say no whenever they wanted to say no too. That attitude has to be respected. So I think they have been maybe mistreated a little bit outside the octagon, I think.
Yeah, and this is just I'm just want to scratch the surface, but my friend Prophecy seems to agree with you. He says, I think the Diaz brothers have pros and cons, but I don't think that they have a different persona in front of the cameras. They are who they are. They are who they are. They don't care what anyone else thinks. And I think, all right, so we'll move on with this next question. This is what I think. I think that what I mentioned is because, and you feel free to educate me on this. So the ban first started for the older brother Nick, right? Because he was using illicit drugs, right? But now that particular one, educate me if it's
Yeah.
not. Now it's basically acceptable. Like now it's permitted. So
Yes,
so
per
is that
USADA.
what happened?
Yes, that's what happened. He like they banned him for like 2 years because he was positive to weed. Uh, that's so dumb. I mean, I understand the sport has to be professional. Listen, there's guys out there trying to figure out a way to do steroids with four hands and cheat in every way possible. You're gonna ban Nick Diaz, one of the OGs of the sport, because he was smoking weed. You know, let's at least finally they understood that it was dumb. And even though I don't partake, I'm not a weed fan, but I understand that it's so dumb. Let them. Who cares? Like, it's not D-ball. They're not they're not trying to look like a bodybuilder. They're not doing crazy steroids and they pop positive. If that would have happened, then of course ban them for life. I don't think you should give a chance to people that test positive for steroids and are caught and they admit to it. I think they should be out of the sport. Go do something else. But cannabis, it's dumb. I think that's so dumb. Finally, they understood it.
Yeah, I think that this. So back to what we were saying, they do what they want, and they don't always do what like the company would like. I feel like they manipulated that situation. Like, yeah, okay, we're not gonna get you for that because you're entitled to have that right. Yes, like you said, you can say yes or no, but we're gonna find a loophole, and we're still gonna manage to get what we want, but we're just gonna call it something different. And
Right.
and I feel like that's why I was asking if they were mistreated unfairly. Because I mean, just to not go off on a tangent about how athletes recover or whatever. I think that's like their personal choice. And like you said, it's steroids. There's absolutely in any sport. I feel like there's absolutely no room for it. I don't care where it's at. I don't care if it's in
Right.
golf. And not that golf is not a rigorous or hard sport, because it takes a crazy amount of technique and
It does.
hours to and to not even quit just because it's so hard. It's so hard.
It is very hard. It is very hard.
So when I said that, I don't want people think that I was downplaying golf. I was just saying it's people normally
Listen,
don't
if golf players get offended, what are we doing?
let it be.
Who cares?
So we have a
Who
question.
cares? It's 2021. Everybody's offended now.
Yes. Yeah. So let's A Salas has a question. Do you think
Yes.
George Masvidal and Nate Diaz, do you think they should have a rematch? And if so, who would win?
I think at this point Jorge is too good. He's too good for Nate. I think he evolved into something else. Like his skills are much better than Nate's. Like, if you see that fight, that was always going to be a Jorge fight. It was stopped because the doctor stopped it, if I'm correct. I don't recall. I think that's what it was. The doctor stopped it because of a cut. I think for now, for the next couple of years, if they meet again, Jorge beats him, and I think beats him bad. He was beating him really bad. And the thing about both Diaz brothers, they can take some shots, and they can be in trouble and eventually figure out a way to win. Like, they can lose 4 out of 5 rounds and then catch you on that 5th one and choke you out or something. They've done it, and they've done it many times. But I think Nate, he's piled on so much. Like, he's been beat a lot, and he's been through some wars. And I think that Jorge right now is too good. His skills are at the top of his game right now. As far as he can get, I don't think he beats the champion. I don't think he can beat, let's say, Colby Covington. Like, those top 2 guys, I don't think he can beat the guy that just lost to Kamaru. I think those top 3 guys, I don't think Jorge can beat, but he can beat everybody else, I think. So, yeah, I think he beats Nate Diaz, and he beats him quite comfortably, I think.
So, hay niveles.
Hay niveles. There's levels to this.
Yeah. It's basically like kind of what I'm getting.
I'm
Speaking
gonna
of,
make a shirt. I'm gonna print a shirt.
yeah, that would
Says,
be cool.
There's levels to this, bro.
Yeah. No, really, really, that would be an awesome shirt. So, shifting gears to boxing and speaking of
Mhm.
levels. So it was rumored. Now it seems like the rumors are becoming less and less. And actually, I saw a video where Oscar De La Hoya says that the Manny Pacquiao Ryan situation is basically just like all Instagram. How do you feel about that fight?
Uh, from Ryan's bank account, I think it's great. I don't. Why? Why were they gonna meet at welterweight? Was that the weight?
Well, see,
Did they even say a weight?
they never said away. I think it was. I think there's a video that I saw. I don't remember who. I think they said like maybe 144. So it'd be a catch weight,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't know. I just, that's a lot of weight for him to go up. I just
Well,
wanted to know what you thought.
I think Ryan is really long. He's really big for 135.
Yeah, he fills up right after weight.
Yeah, which weight cutting is another subject. Like we can go on for 2 hours about weight cutting and how how preposterous it is. But that's something for some another subject. But I think if he goes up to 144, he doesn't have to. I don't. He doesn't have to cut that much weight, and he falls in love with the way he feels up there. I don't think he comes back down to 135. That's a whole 10 pounds almost.
Mhm.
Uh, how the fight would go, I think what we've been seeing with Manny, prophecy said, even with Pac-Man being almost 78 years old. I agree. I agree. I think Manny's too good. Like Manny has been boxing as long as Ryan has been alive.
Yes.
I think something like that. So I let's say okay. I like it as a spectacle. Why not? I don't think Ryan deserves it. If we're talking about that subject, but do we see any type of system in boxing where the fights that are supposed to get made? That that's not how boxing works anymore, right?
Yeah, yeah, and picking up on that, Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, basically this past week and a half, they've just basically said, "I don't want to hear each other's name." Like, so that's just gonna be one of those things where generations from now, hopefully they're each of their legacies, which I think they will, but I feel like that was a legacy fight. But I still think that their legacy will be built out at the end of the career, but I think it's just going to be end up being one of those fights where they will go anytime you see them together when they're like maybe 50 and 60 years old, they're going to be like, they'll be friendly about it, but like, I would have beat you, but it's never going to happen. And it truly, because like you said, there's no system where the fights that are supposed to be made are made, that it truly saddens me as a boxing fan, because like I said, back to what we were talking about initially, witnessing like the greatest in this time of era that we're living in, we're seeing some of the best athletes because of advancements in technology, in performance training and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that was one of the fights where we were going to be able to see a generation of boxing come together as one and really demonstrate what this era of boxing was. And I think we just missed out on it.
When you look at a UFC event or a Bellator MMA event or whatever MMA company out there,
Now on Showtime, big. That's big for them. Bellator is now on Showtime.
it is on Showtime and CBS Sports. Whenever you see a big MMA event, you see that the best fight the best. Even though some other companies don't have the same pool of talent that the UFC does, because the UFC is the best company in the world at this in MMA. But even then, like you see all the other companies that they always put the best against the best, the guys, the girls, everybody, the best against the best. But you don't see that in boxing. You see that on divisions that are thin, like the heavyweight division. You saw Fury against Wilder because what else were you gonna see?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Walter, we can make a case that listen, Al Heyman bought all the welterweights except the welterweight. You know what I mean? He bought all of them. He was like, all right, I'm going to get all these marbles except that one.
Mm-hmm.
Now nobody can play.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can play because he has them all.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to play with Bob Arum. So what are we doing here? Like, boxing needs to restructure the way they let's say the way they do business, the way they divide the talent. I think there has to be a serious conversation here about what boxing needs to do to make the big fights happen. Because yes, MMA doesn't have the history that boxing does. Boxing is more than 100 years old, and we love boxing. I love boxing. I'm an MMA fan. I love MMA, but I love boxing too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are missing out on such big fights, and so many of them too. Like, I don't want to see Terence Crawford fight Kell Brook. I don't want to. It's not what I want to see. I want to see Terence Crawford fight Earl Spence. Is that too much to ask? You know what I mean? Can I please see Gervonta Davis at 130 against Miguel Berchelt? Can I please see that?
Wow.
How hard can it be?
Imagine that. Wow.
That would, if they were MMA fighters and if they were in an MMA company, that would definitely happen for sure. And then you would see Oscar Valdez against Shakur Stevenson. Why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is so dumb.
You know what? I think the reason why that happens though, because there's always like basically two sides. And to me, honestly, and like Prophecy says, like the politics in boxing, I think they're overplayed and they're done with. But whatever, not done with.
I hope they're done with.
Not done with, but they're overplayed. I think that the money grabs in UFC don't happen unless you really are fighting the best. And you will hear now like that, which, and I respect, and I hope that Al Heyman like pays all his boxers well, and I hope that is true. And I just think that because of the amount of money that's being pushed into these fighters without proving anything, because of their social marketability, because of their marketing, I think that is what really is the speed bump. I think that's the true thing. It's the money that they're in fear of losing. And I think boxing fans have only themselves to blame, because what did we see when Teofimo beat Lopez? Teofimo beat Lopez. When Teofimo beat Loma, what did we see? Like, not everyone, majority, I would say at least 50%, which is already too many. Oh, I told you Loma was just a hype job. He was the best amateur, but that's it. So their stock essentially goes down. So I see both sides. Yes, boxing is this way, but fans need to understand, guys, that honestly, we're a lot to blame for. Because
I agree.
One loss can. I saw this thing. Elie Seckbach was reporting with Robert Garcia, and he was like, "There's in some contracts they say like if you have one loss or even two, or like the chance that you can get cut, it's like in the contract, like this promotion, this contractual agreement can be, severed because you lost once or twice." And I feel like fans are to blame because no one cares if Nate Diaz has so many losses, because if
That's
there's
like 12 losses.
Exactly. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch. I don't care how many times Connor loses. I'm gonna watch. I don't care how many times Masvidal's lost. I'm gonna watch. And there's so many more because they're gonna put on a great performance. But in boxing, basically, is like you're only as good as your last performance. And in UFC is, I want to see your next performance to see where you're at, and that's what draws the people in. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. And boxing is, if someone, I don't know how to draw, but if someone tells me, hey, draw a person that represents boxing, I would draw on a man that is at least 97 years old, because that's what boxing feels like. It feels like an old man. It feels like it doesn't want to open the door for the new ideas, for the new possibilities of the sport. Dude, females can't even fight 12 rounds in a championship fight. That is the most preposterous thing I have heard in my life. Like girls, the ladies, female boxers, only fight 2 minutes, and they only fight 10 rounds in a championship fight. Isn't that insulting? Don't you think that's insulting?
Yeah.
Dude, in MMA, they go the same distance the guys do. It's not like girls are fighting guys. They're fighting girls. Let them go at it. And boxing, I love it. I'm always going to watch. I'm definitely going to watch even the small cards. I'm not going to, because I bash boxing. I don't bash boxing, the sport, or the boxers. I bash what makes boxing ugly sometimes, which is promoters and Mauricio Sulaiman. Those two things. I had to put it in there. I'm gonna make a shirt that says Mauricio gave me this shirt along with a new belt. I'm gonna make that shirt. But there's things that are making boxing hard to watch if you're not a hardcore fan. Ryan Garcia is good for the sport. Like we were talking about him earlier. He's good for the sport. And I think he brings another kind of crowd. He brings the younger crowd, maybe more of a female influx of fans that we needed. We need girls to watch fights. We need females to watch fights because there's more people, more tickets, more money, more pay-per-views. So boxing needs to figure out a way to let the new ideas flow, open the door for new possibilities, and let's not be so stubborn. What if this guy has 4 fights? Like how many fights did Orlando Salido have? How many losses did Orlando Salido had? And then he beat Loma in one of his first fights. It's such an old way of thought. I think it's such an archaic way of handling business. I think we need younger ideas in the sport.
So this is my next question, and it's probably going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. But
I love it.
But okay, so if you look at boxing, the best fought the best until I personally feel, or what do you think? I feel like Mayweather made that shift in boxing to where it was less legacy, more business, but more business means more money. Do you think that everyone is just trying to be the next Floyd, and that's why it's at the point that it is? Because also promoters saw, wow, if I have a boxer that everyone wants to see, half people want to see win, half people want to see lose, I'm going to have almost everyone watching. Do you think everyone is trying to basically manufacture the next Floyd Mayweather, or that have that type of career and legacy? Do you think that halted boxing?
We gotta think about Floyd at 130 and 135.
Okay,
like, he fought some killers that he didn't need to fight.
Pretty boy.
I'm not a huge Floyd guy. I have him up there on my list. I'm not gonna say where I have him, so Floyd haters don't have a heart attack. But I have him up there. At 130, 135, when he was making money, but he wasn't Money Mayweather, he fought some difficult guys that he didn't need to fight. He fought Diego Corrales, Jose Luis Castillo, guys that were going to make your night hell. And he beat them. He proved himself. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's not Ryan Garcia, in all due respect. He wasn't at that point. He was already proven more than Ryan is now. Who does Ryan have on his resume that we can equate to Diego Corrales and Jose Luis Castillo right now? Luke Campbell, maybe. He's up there. But before that, we couldn't find a name. So I think he earned it. He earned the way. He earned his being able to make it a business. Now, did that ruin boxing? We can make the argument for sure. We can definitely make the argument. I think you shouldn't be able to pick and choose your opponents. And that's something he was very good at. But he beat them all, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you still have to win. You still have to win, You still have to
listen, at the end of the day, you can fight tomorrow night, Saturday. You can get hit wrong. You can get maybe one rapid punch. Your brain starts to bleed. Then you die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make that money. Make that money. But there needs to be a happy medium
Mm.
with that fact and the fact that we need to see the best fights. We need to see the best fighters fight the best. There shouldn't be all this diva nonsense going on with Terrence Crawford and Earl Spence. And I'm not disrespecting them as men or as fighters, but this whole thing, this storyline that they're building, is a diva storyline. We don't need to see that. And also back to Floyd, we didn't get the Floyd Manny fight when we deserved it. We got it like 7 years after we should have. So yes, I think Floyd holds a big chunk of the blame for sure.
Yeah, and it's so hard. It's so hard to like decide, is it blame or is it a sense of I'm smart, and I know that life after boxing is gonna happen, and I know that I'm not gonna be at this physique or this level forever. So let me make the most out of it. I don't.
Yeah.
So it makes it very hard, right? Because like you said, one punch can alter your life. Like one punch can you. It's so sad. It's the sad part of boxing. It's a very sad part.
It is. Look at the older generation knows the story of Nigel Benn and Gerald McLennan. That fight was a grueling fight, and it eventually ended up with Gerald McLennan having bleeding on his brain, and right now he's blind. He can't talk. He can't walk. He didn't make that much money either. So, and the Puerto Rican fighter Pritchard Colon, like 5-6 years ago, same thing. A couple of rabbit punches, a mediocre referee that wasn't doing his job correctly, and then the guy can't even walk now. He was bedridden for a long time. We're seeing a little bit of progress now, but these are things that happen in the fight game that most people don't want to look at. And if you have a chance to make $20 million fighting someone that's ranked 47th in your division, you're gonna take it. You're gonna take it.
Yeah.
If you have that opportunity.
Yeah, because like I think everyone today, everyone here, everyone watching, everyone anywhere, if they said tomorrow you're gonna make twice the amount of money, but you're gonna have to work half as less, you're gonna be like, let's go, sign me up, right? But so like shifting forward, sometimes boxing has these moments where the best are meeting the best, and we need to cherish them. So talking about tomorrow's fight with Valdez and Miguel tomorrow, what is your prediction?
I think, being graphic, I think Miguel, all due respect to everybody, I think Miguel Berchelt is going to reach into Oscar's chest. He's going to rip his heart out. He's going to eat it while looking at his eyes because Miguel is too good. I mean, Oscar is world-class too, but he's not there. He hasn't seen what Miguel has seen. He hasn't gone through what Miguel has gone through. Now, Miguel does get hit. Jason Sosa rocked him in the first round. He gets hit. He's a little reckless sometimes because he trusts his chin and he trusts his willpower. He's not a finesse fighter in any description. He is what he is. He's a marauder. I think Miguel wins anyways. I think the last video I made about this, I said Miguel wins before the 6th. That's what I think. I think Miguel stops Oscar before the 6th round. I think.
Man.
But he does get hit.
Yeah, that's bold. That's like before the 6th. That just makes me, it makes me like extremely like I'm excited. I'm stoked because like I said, very rarely do all the stars align and you get this beautiful picture and it actually happens. What for you? What is one fight that you have enjoyed that you felt that's your favorite fight? Like everything is perfect. the business was made, the fighters are at their prime. What fight is that for you?
Fury and Wilder. Fury
Okay.
and Wilder. I think. I'm a
First or
huge Fury guy. What'd you say?
the first one or second one?
Both, because the fact that they made them was
Mhm.
maybe the second one has to be my favorite because I'm a huge Fury guy. I'm bold with my comparisons. I think he is the greatest heavyweight of the last 30 years. I think after Mike Tyson, that era, if you move Tyson Fury to that era, the Lennox Lewis era, I think he rules them all. I think he's way better than that generation. Uh, Even though he hasn't fought the caliber of fighter that Lennox Lewis fought, but even though you can't compare eras, I still think Tyson Fury is way better than Lennox Lewis. Anyways, not to go on a tangent, but that second fight, I enjoyed it the most because Tyson Fury did his thing, knocked him out, showed the world. But I think both fights, the fact that they made the fights, the fact that there was no BS in making the fights and signing the contract, it impressed me. But then you think about how thin the heavyweight division is, and then you're like, oh, it makes sense. There's like 4 elite fighters at the top of the division, so those fights have to be made. There's no who are you going to fight,
Yeah, I agree with you. To me, I personally when Wilder took the second fight. I gained, even though he lost, I gained much more respect for him than the first fight because I feel like the first fight, maybe Fury's coming off a layoff, all his personal situation, so I felt like okay, like that's a comfortable fight to make and accept, right? But after Wilder, just whether everyone says like Fury had an extra 10 seconds to stand up, that's another coffee for another day, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Wilder still, after he didn't put that person away, which was almost a foreign concept for him to accept that second fight, to me, I was like, wow. Like I respect every fighter. I respect every fighter, whether I choose to be your fan or follow you or watch you. Now I watch fighting for a different reason than when I used to. But that day I was like, you know what? Wilder, he really is everything he says he really is by accepting that fight. Now it didn't go his way, but he could have been done and off with that fight and not lost his belt. He could have taken another fight, easier fight. It could have been the same scenario, the cycle, but he saw a real challenge and he took it. So for me, that's one of those fights that I'm like, oh my goodness, like I cannot believe this is actually happening. I'm watching this right now. It's amazing. It's amazing. I think the only other time that I felt that again, before that time, was obviously the Triple G and Canelo. Whether they were good fights or whoever you felt won or lost, those were moments in boxing. I'm like, wow. I cannot believe I'm witnessing this. And as for a fight fan, that feeling is amazing. It brings you back to the classic fights, Vargas, everyone, all the like back in the day, because I experienced those fights when I was like smaller. So it was different for me. But now I'm like, this is my generation. This is my era. Like, wow, this is what I'm witnessing. So I wanted to know like what that was for you.
Yeah. I think it has to be Wilder and Fury. Canelo and Triple G, they're up there too. The fact that they made them, but it was like Triple G was knocking everybody dead for so long that you had to make that fight. Heavyweight is another can of worms, I think, and that whole thing with Wilder after that second fight is embarrassing. I still respect him as a fighter, but it's so sad. It's more sad than anything else. More than embarrassing, more than shameful. It's sad what happened with him after that second fight. Hopefully, he can maybe work through a sports psychologist and maybe get back on the horse. But man, you don't like seeing that. You hate seeing that from any kind of athlete.
Yeah, and this goes back to what we were talking about. Boxing, the boxing community, the boxing fans, people who say they love boxing, the sport of boxing or whatever, they have a responsibility that when Wilder does return, that we embrace him. Because if not, I don't want to ever hear anyone say, "Why don't the best fight the best?" Well, this is why. Because now how he handled the situation after with the accusations or whatever,
Yeah.
that's like like I said, like that's another coffee another day. But when he does return, if he does return, the boxing community has that, and this is something the UFC community does better. I feel they embrace boxers after, I mean, fighters after their loss
Yeah.
easily. Like they, I guess it's just a level of respect. So
Yeah.
so yeah, like I said, the boxing community, they have that responsibility. Speaking of Canelo, so right now Canelo has his mandatory and Billy Joe. Uh, how do you see those two fights playing out?
He fights Yildirim
Yep,
at the
27.
end of at the
Mhm.
end. Yeah, 27. I don't want to see that fight. You know what? Who wants to see?
Okay.
All due respect to Mr. Yildirim, you know, he's an athlete. He's a boxer. You know, he grinds. He's working to climb the ladder to be the best. But he's ranked 30 something in BoxRec and in different websites. And it's boxing being boxing, man. But Canelo has to win. He should win that fight. Now, Billy Joe, that's a 168 too, right?
Mhm.
So did Canelo vacate his 160? He's not champion at 160 anymore. He still has something. He still has like one or two belts.
Honestly, I'm not sure, but
Yeah, me neither.
I think it was his 154 belt he vacated. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, prophecy says he wants to see the Canelo Charlo fight. Yeah, because they split, right? One of the twins is still a 160, and the other twin is a 168.
Yeah.
So I think he's referring to this to the one at 168.
160.
Mm,
So he would have to
yeah,
go basically, or
right. Okay. First, that Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders fights. Billy Joe is very good. I don't think he beats Canelo. I think what Canelo is doing right now is impressive. We need to stop and cherish what we're watching
this is kind
because
of
what
a theme, right?
yes, yeah, what he's doing right now is insane. What he did to Callum Smith, people. Callum Smith knocked George Groves out silly. Like what George Groves did in 168 is like he was a legit top 3 fighter at 168. He was world class. And Canelo intimidated him from the get go with at least 5 inches in height under. So what Canelo's doing, it's impressive. I think we should just stop and cherish that. He's mastering the sport right now, like prophecy says, 100%.
Mhm.
He's like he's working in like another frequency right now. He's like at his peak, and he's 30 now, right? He just turned 30, like last year. He's 30. This is when people start like becoming the greatest at what they do, and he is just getting into that period. So I don't think anybody beats Canelo unless he gets greedy and reckless and fights Arthur Better BF at 175. I don't think Death can beat Arthur Better BF. I don't think anybody can beat Arthur Better BF for at least 2 or 3 years. I think he's untouchable. So if Canelo goes up to 175 and makes the horrible decision of meeting Arthur Better BF, then we gotta pick this conversation back up. But if he stays within his boundaries, let's say Billy Joe Saunders, and maybe I don't know who has one of the Charlos, maybe Benavides. I think he even beats Benavides at 168. For now, if he stays within those boundaries, he'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. So that now that kind of makes me like, what's your assessment on Caleb Plant?
He's very good. I think David Benavides is better.
Yeah.
I think if they fight, I think Benavides wins. But Caleb Plant is very good. He he dominated Truax like he should have. I don't know. People weren't. This is another thing. Like if you don't completely destroy your opponent, then you're not as good as you're supposed to be. Listen, Truax is a pro. He can take punishment. And Caleb Plant just showed that he has a bunch of tools to work with. And what if he didn't want to knock him out? There's a bunch of fighters that haven't fought in like 2 years, and they just don't want to knock the dude out in the first 3 rounds. They want to work, get the ring rust off, show people new tools that they're working on. And I don't know, but I think if they meet with Benavides, then we gotta talk about it, because I think Benavides is too good. But besides that, I think Caleb Plant, he has to be. He's top 5 in that division right now. I think. I would love to see him against Callum Smith. That would be a good fight.
Yeah, but I think they made an announcement that he's going to move up. He's moving up to the next division, so he's moving up to 175. And Prophecy says Benavides Canelo, excuse me, would be a great fight. I agree. I think that right now, I think for me personally, that would be him and the Charlo. They would be the most challenging fight for Canelo right now. Everyone else, I feel like you said, there's levels. Everyone else, I feel like it's just a bottom tier level. And I think at the end of the day, if you were discussing about Canelo taking the next fight at 175, with
Better be a.
Yes, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, I think that at some point Canelo will entertain that idea when he clears this 168. I really do. How do you feel about Canelo saying he does not want to fight other Mexicans?
I don't see why not. We're gonna see that tomorrow. Oscar Valdez and Miguel Berchelt, and like they're very Mexican. It's not like the old like Oscar de la Hoya against Vargas thing. Like, oh, one's more Mexican than the other. Now these two are very Mexican. So I think I don't know. That's Canelo being a superstar. So if he doesn't want to do it, don't do it. But fight Benavides. Who cares? He's very good. It's gonna be a great fight, because Benavides is just as tall as Callum Smith, maybe a little shorter, but he has a whole different kind of technique and a whole different style. I think it would be amazing. I think maybe after Billy Joe, we gotta start talking about David Benavides. Who does he fight next? I would love to know if David Benavides has a fight.
He does. He fights Ronald Ennis. Ronald Ennis, I believe, on March 20th, sometime in March. He does.
Yeah. Ronald Ellis, 13th, March 13th.
Yeah, March 13th. Yeah. So he's actually been with the RGBA camp, which for me are just producing some of the best fighters. Speaking of people from RGBA, who do you have between Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor?
Jose Carlos Ramirez, man.
Yeah.
His last fight, was it against Victor Postol? Was that his last fight?
Yes.
What an uncomfortable guy. Like he's gonna be that guy until he retires. Postol, I mean. Like he's gonna make your fight the most uncomfortable dog fight. So Jose Carlos looked very uncomfortable. With that being said, I think he can he can win. He can beat Josh Taylor, I think. Where are they going to do it? I don't know. Is it already signed? Are they going to do it overseas? What's it going to be?
Yeah, I think they're like aiming for that, like the May, one of the weekends in May, like that, either like the Cinco de Mayo that little schedule. I think they're aiming for one of those, which brings me to, because they're both with Top Rank. How do you feel about Teofimo going to the purse bid? And do you feel that Bob Arum should feel offended regarding that?
I have zero sympathy for any promoter, honestly. So I don't care about their feelings. So if they feel offended, boo-hoo. You're making a whole... Listen, Bob Arum is the same POS that shelved Mikey Garcia for like 2 years. no sympathy from me. I have zero sympathy for Bob Arum. So, hey, do what you gotta do, Teofimo. He's a young guy. He has his sights set. Like, some people think of him as cocky. Maybe, I mean, he's from Brooklyn. He's gonna be cocky, you know. But I had Sulem Urbina on the podcast last year. I think October ish.
Wow.
An honor for me to have her on. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I like to do I didn't say it at the beginning, I forgot, but one of my main goals is to keep giving the ladies in combat sports a bigger platform. And I'm not a huge TV channel. I'm not NBC, CBS, but I'm passionate about combat sports, and I think the ladies deserve more respect than what they're getting. But I had her on the show on, I think, late October last year, and they were at some amateur competition at the same time, her and Teofimo, and she recalls him saying that he was going to beat Loma at some point, and he did. So the guy has his goals set straight. He's not looking to deviate from his plan. So if he goes on a purse bid with some other promotion, man, I think I commend him. I hope he keeps doing it. I hope he pisses off every promoter. I hope every promoter gets mad at him. I have zero sympathy for Oscar, for Eddie, for Bob, and for Al. I have zero sympathy for any of them. So I hope he keeps doing what he's doing. He's gonna fight. I think Cambosos. Is that it? Was that yeah? Mm-hmm. That's gonna be a great fight too. If they ever go into if it ever happens. So. Which looks like that's what it's gonna be. So hopefully it does. Hopefully it happens. And I just want to see Teofimo in there, man. I think he's so good. He's so young too. He's like what, 22, 23?
Yeah, he's no older than like 23 for sure. Which brings me to the next thing. I hope that, like you said about Arum shelling Mikey for a whole 2 years, I hope that this doesn't cause any turmoil between Arum and Teofimo, and then this affects. We see a legacy that could have been something special, really downplayed because of politics.
Yeah, I think it could, but I hope it doesn't.
So I've noticed that the boxers we've been speaking about and on terms and talking about, I've noticed something. They correlate with my personal pound for pound list. So I'm going to tell you my personal pound for pound list, and feel free to tell me how crazy I am. So obviously, number one for me personally, I feel Canelo Alvarez. Number two, Errol Spence. Number three, Manny Pacquiao. Number four, Teofimo Lopez. Number five, Tyson Fury. Number six, Inoue. Number seven, Crawford. Number eight, Jose Ramirez. Number nine, Anthony Joshua. And number 10, Jermell Charlo.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Fair enough.
I don't hate it. You want me to give you mine? Because I didn't really.
Yeah.
I didn't really jot one down. But I'm gonna go to BoxRec and I'm gonna look at what they have, and I'm gonna restructure it however I want to. Jesus Christ, they have Alexander Povetkin number 9. What? What is this world coming to? I mean, all respect to Povetkin, but he's not a top 10 fighter.
That was a great uppercut he landed on Dillian White, which I personally believe Dillian White is one of those levels that's just below the really elite. But we didn't get the chance to see it because he actually lost that opportunity because he took that fight. But that's where we go back to. You can't count boxers out. One punch can change your career and your life.
Yeah, my biggest problem with that fight, I don't want to be negative always, but I gotta express it and call it how I see it. And my biggest problem with that fight is the fact that it was the main event. It should have been the co-main event, and Katie and Persoon should have been the main event because it was the fight that meant the most. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that the heavyweight fight was for a belt that doesn't exist, the diamond belt. Mm-hmm. It didn't. Yes, they're fighters and they deserve respect for sure. But the Katie and Presume were fighting for all the belts at 135. So I think they deserved a little bit more respect than they should have been up there. But that's boxing being old. But I like that they're gonna do a rematch between Povetkin and Dylan White. I think they're good for each other. I think we might see a trilogy. I think White wins. I don't think he's gonna get caught again. Hopefully we see a trilogy because they're good. They're crafty, crafty veterans. And they're not gonna be champions ever unless they fight for, unless something happens. But as long as Joshua, Fury, Andy Ruiz are still up there, Povetkin and White are not gonna become champions. So I like it when I see veterans fighting each other in any sport because they're so crafty. They have so many tools, and that's really cool. I like it.
Yeah. Did you want to give your list off? I'm sorry if I cut you off.
Sure. Yeah. Don't worry. I'm gonna have Canelo number 1 for sure. I have to have. I'll have Errol number 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll have Errol Spence number 2. I'm gonna have Tyson Fury number 3. I'm gonna put Teofimo number 4. Then Terence Crawford number 5. I'll say Arthur Beterbiev number 6. Yeah, I like that. I like him at number 6. Then Jermall Charlo, Inoue number 7. Taylor number 8. I'm gonna put Gervonta number 9, and number 10 for Jermall Charlo.
Okay.
I'll have it at that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's like a lot that you can like mix in and out in that whole mix. You mentioned about like the top 5 heavyweights right now. What does Chris Arreola, Andrew Reese mean to you? What does that mean to you?
I don't like it. I don't like it for Chris.
Exactly.
I don't like it. He's been through so many wars, and I don't think it's fair. He's gonna go and fight.
Yeah.
Then he's gonna go and go all out. But I don't think it's fair at this point. At this point in his career, I don't think it's fair. I think they should have done something else. I like him, and the problem is that they're both with Al Heyman, and they're not going to fight anybody else outside of that. Mm-hmm. So that's why that fight's being made. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it because Andy is a top 3 heavyweight. Mm-hmm. Besides Anthony and besides Tyson Fury, you got to have Andy right there. Mm-hmm. He's the 3rd best heavyweight in the world right now. And listen, if you put him in there again, focused, well put together against Anthony Joshua, hey, I don't know what happens. I don't know if he could beat him again. But I don't like it. I don't like that fight.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I can think of a million other boxers that Andy could have fought besides Chris Arreola. I know the name has weight to it. I know that has a lot to do with it. I know that Chris comes to fight, but I personally I'd rather have him fight Adam, the Polish gentleman.
Kovnacki.
Yeah.
But exactly. Wait, but they fought already, right?
Yes, that was his last fight. No, I would rather have Andy fight Adam.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he hasn't been through so many wars like Chris has. Exactly. Listen, I want to see Andy and Wilder. That's what I want to see. No nonsense. That's what I want to see. Come on, we're grown men. I want to see you two guys in there. They're both Al Heyman guys. Let's do it. I think that's what should be done, and it's gonna bring so much money too. Andy is the guy that was. Yeah, that's a pay-per-view fight.
That's a pay-per-view fight. You wouldn't even have to have such a stacked undercard because it would do decently well if you put a really good undercard together you could not break records, but you could break those numbers that would are considered high or a good for pay-per-view in this current time. Considering and then the pandemic, so that eliminates so many thousand fans already. I would have rather had that fight instead, too.
We all do. That's the fight that makes sense. It's Wilder and Andy. They're not doing anything right now. That's the one that should be signed. And it's such a good fight because what happens when Wilder touches Andy in the chin? Because he does get hit. He gets hit a lot. So what happens? It's not the same. It's not the same as Anthony Joshua. It's not the same as Joseph Parker. It's not the same. This is something else. So what happens then? He's not Tyson Fury. He's not 6'7", but he's so much faster.
Yeah.
I think he's the fastest heavyweight I've seen in a long time. I don't want to name any names, but he's one of the fastest heavyweights I've seen in a while. Even
when he was like, quote unquote, this last performance with Joshua, like out of shape or not focused, you see the mitt work that they did in the ring. Even Eddie was like, he's like, man, he's looking fast out. Like he's looking fast out there. And I think a focus Andrew Ruiz will give anyone. It just breaks my heart, man. It breaks my heart because I know like what a focus Andrew Ruiz could be. It's still not over. Let's not write him off.
No.
It's still not over, but he already was there. He was there already.
Yeah,
he was
there. Just imagine that you're working day in, day out, and then someone just hands you a lottery ticket for $40 million. You don't know how to act, Yeah. It's a whole different thing. Start balling out of control. You start buying Bentleys and Rolls Royces and going to parties and hanging out with rappers.
Chains, everything you literally dreamed of, like as a kid growing up, like, yeah, man. Like you mentioned this earlier, like we're all products of our environment. He even said it. All those things that he purchased were like things that he's just always wanted, and he finally had the chance to get it. My man Prophecy says, just backtracking a little bit, that number 2, and that's why I was. Yeah, man, I got so much so much like just slack about it. He's like, that number 2 hurts me the most. I think Crawford has done more than Spence. I don't think so. I'm sorry, I don't think so.
Okay, at 147. Like boxing and life in general it's what have you done for me lately?
Mm-hmm.
And if you match up the resume at 147, Errol Spence has the best resume of them both. If you match up the resume between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence with the Danny Garcia fight alone, and then you ask Sean Porter.
Oh my gosh, that's what I said. That's what I said. People don't understand. Sean Porter is, and he is a monster. He is, oh my goodness, that is one boxer you do not want to be in the ring with on your best day, because if he has his best day, it's gonna be a burner. It's gonna be a burner. And to me,
that
Sean
dude
Porter
can do it all.
Yes.
You want to know how bad he is? I don't know if you know this, but he's so bad that he beat Alexander Usyk in the amateurs. Do you know this?
I didn't know that, but I'm honestly not surprised. No, I'm really not surprised.
Bro, what's Usyk?
Yes. And just to put that into terms for everyone, Usyk right now is a heavyweight.
Yeah, a small heavyweight. He's like
213
most of the times.
Yeah. To me,
and Sean Porter is 147, just for the people at home.
Yeah, really. Besides Manny Pacquiao, would you have Errol Spence as the second best resume at 147?
I think so. I think so. Right now, active. Yes,
right. I agree.
I think so.
Yeah.
Terence has to grab that top rank contract and just tear it. Just break it, do something else, go somewhere else. Because all due respect to him, what he did was amazing. But right now, what have you done for me lately? What have you done at 147? The biggest names are on Errol Spence's resume. So if we're talking about who has the best 147 resume, it has to be Errol Spence. And Terence Crawford overall, maybe he's a better fighter, maybe he beats him, who knows? But until they get in the ring, what are we gonna do? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there's honestly nothing to do except talk about how much boxers are unhappy at Top Rank. It's like a trend. It's a trend I see. I'm not saying like I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything about Top Rank. This is what I just see, like based on what I've seen, what I've like recorded, that boxers just aren't happy with the. Everyone almost says the same thing. They're a great farm system. They're a great system of bringing the boxers up. But when it's time to get the fruits of the labor and everything is marinated, there's a disconnect between what they feel they should get paid and what they're getting paid. And Mikey Garcia said it on a live. I wish I was screen recording, but then again, I probably wouldn't have posted it because there's like some illicit, explicit
language.
So, but he was very. Let me tell you, he used a lot of F words and it wasn't fun. So
a lot of colorful language.
Yeah, a lot of color, really. And yeah, and you look at it, and he actually gave an example, and that's when I really put everything together. I'm like, everyone who left ended up making so much more money. Floyd, Manny, himself,
Oscar. Yeah.
Do you think? What do you think? Is it a coincidence, or do you think that there is just something going on that's?
They are greedy, all of them. Eddie, Oscar, Al, and Bob, and they want to make the most money, while investing the least amount of money. That's business, If you're gonna, if you want to print T-shirts, you do that. Then you charge a lot of money, and you get more money.
Yeah.
But they are elite level athletes, and they deserve, better than what they're getting. With that being said, boxers make millions, at least the top high level ones. I think the main problem that we've been seeing with Bob Arum, number one, he's, in all due respect to all the grandpas out there, but he's very old. I don't know. I don't know how efficient you can be at this age in this game. He's up there. He's in his 80s. How much does he delegate to his, to the people that work in his company? How much does is he like Vince McMahon in wrestling? That is his word the last word, and is his word what goes? Then we need to figure that out, because what he's done to some fighters is shameful. What he did to Mikey, shelved him for 2 years for no reason. That's something that boxers can't get back. They can't get time back.
Man, preach, man. Yeah, that's real, man. Time in boxing is your third opponent, basically. Yeah. Honestly, it's your third opponent, and there's no time for time off, honestly. And that's why all the greats, they stick to it. Yeah. No, and you gotta stay in there. Also, and I don't want to keep ranting about Bob Arum, but he has one lady in his roster. One, Michaela Mayer. That's it. He doesn't have anybody else. He just signs opponents, so they come and she beats them. And I'm not knocking her. She's an elite level fighter. It's not her business. It's not her problem. She's just there to fight and make money, and that's cool. But come on, man. I don't understand why boxing doesn't give more love to the ladies. How hard can it be? Bring more girls into your promotion, have more fights. How many women out there don't watch boxing simply because they don't see any other women fighting, so they don't care? You're losing money, I think. Don't you think? Yeah, I agree. And you mentioned it before, and I meant to bring it up, and I'm glad that we're back on this subject. March 5th, Clarissa Shields, one of the best, is putting they're putting on a whole women's pay-per-view. You can find it on Fight TV. I believe it's I don't know if it's because of my location, but I think it's $30. But I love this idea because now we're gonna have a bunch of little girl boxers. Because people have to understand that there just be like people there are even in the Olympics you see like the women boxers, like girls love this sport just as much as men do, but like you said, they're not being represented, not enough, they're not being glorified. And I think right now, I think now it's a good time to not praise, but give a little bit of respect to some of these promoters, because I feel like this episode we're bashing them. I feel like Eddie Hearn and Golden Boy are doing it the best when it comes to women boxers.
100%. They're the only ones that have signed most of the ladies out there. And I mean, Eddie Hearn struck gold with Katie. Let's not be let's not be too sweet on him, but he struck gold with Katie, elite level boxer, elite level athlete, because she used to play soccer too at a world class level too. She's amazing, and he struck gold with her, and the market, the Irish love a good fight, and she's the best Irish boxer right now, period. I think, not even counting male or female. Like, who's the biggest Irish boxer right now? Has to be her. But I mean, Tyson, he's culturally different. He's a traveler from the traveler community, so he's different. But besides that, who's the biggest Irish boxer right now? It has to be Katie Taylor. So he that fell on Eddie's lap too, but then he worked on it and he gave her the platform, and she sells out stadiums. So that was a great thing he did. And her last fight, that whole card, the main card, was all ladies fighting, so that's cool too. So they've been doing a great job. And then Golden Boy, they have our girl Zulia Murbina, she's in there with Golden Boy. Marlene Esparza, a bunch of ladies are in there with Golden Boy. So those two specifically have been doing a good enough job. I'm not gonna give them A+. No,
really.
So they've been doing a good enough job, for now, I think.
Yeah. Just to like go off on a small tangent. Because we talk, like you said, like your podcast, you discuss a lot of things. One thing that's a common topic here that we love it. I love it. What's some good Puerto Rican food that you think we need to try?
Mofongo. That's
Okay.
that's plantain. The green plantain. You peel it, cut it in small dices, and then you fry it. Then you grab that mortar, that wood mortar. You mash it real nice, and with garlic, salt, oil, give it some flavor. And then on the side, you make maybe skirt steak or maybe chicken or whatever kind of meat you want to make. Then you grab your plantain after it's mashed. You make a small little mountain. Then you put that meat in there. Thank me later, bro.
Yeah.
That's the main Puerto Rican dish, the most traditional. And also rice and beans, like white rice, red or pink beans with, let's say, a pork chop or cube steak. That's pretty Puerto Rican too.
Yeah. And my man Prophecy says Puerto Rican rice is one of my favorites. Yeah.
Legit.
Yeah.
Legit.
I had a teammate in college. He was actually Puerto Rican, and he actually mentioned excuse my ignorant part of my mofongo, right? He said that is like, if you can have any Puerto Rican food at some point of your life, that needs to be the one. Like you can't miss it. Like that has to be the one.
Yeah, but you can't plan anything after the meal. You gotta go to sleep. Like when you have mofongo, yeah, you gotta. That's like 1,500 calories right there, and a lot of potassium. So don't I'm gonna go to the movies after. Nah, bro, you're gonna go to sleep. Just eat your mofongo, take a nap. and maybe pick up your schedule tomorrow. But
We'll try again tomorrow.
yeah, try again tomorrow for sure.
So speaking of Puerto Rican richness, and we have a good fight coming up between Hector Tenajara versus Machado.
Alberto Machado.
Yep. What do you think about that fight?
I think Machado is very good, and I think he wins.
Okay.
Puerto Rico, we've been doing we this is the Tito effect. We were talking about Tito earlier, Tito Trinidad. This is the Tito effect. Tito left such a void when he retired that we, as Puerto Ricans, and the boxing system in Puerto Rico and the boxing culture in Puerto Rico has been trying to fill that void that is never going to get filled because you have to do something else. Maybe the cultural effect that Tito had on Puerto Rico changed the way we look at boxers. And now we compare every single boxer to Tito. We did it with Felix Verdejo. You remember him?
Mm-hmm.
And we did it with Tito Acosta. We did it with Alberto Machado. We put too much pressure on these. And we're doing it now with Edgar Berlanga.
Oh, yeah.
And we're doing it with Xander Sayas.
Yeah.
Listen, Xander Sayas is 18 years old, 19 years old. Like, back in the day, Wilfred Benitez was the exception because he was a champion at 17. But besides that, you would never hear of a 17-year-old fighter. Never. You would eventually hear when they eventually beat
10
a
years
gatekeeper. Yeah, maybe when they were 3 or 4 years along their career, when maybe they beat a good gatekeeper in their division or a good contender, and you're like, who's this guy? But now, because of social media, and all due respect to the fighters, my beef will never be with any of the fighters. It's my problem is that I don't care. I will care when you beat a contender, when you beat someone that's ranked in your division. That's when I start to care. And we have been, and this is the main subject that I'm very passionate about, and the pillar of my reason for starting my podcast originally was this particular subject in Puerto Rico. We, for the last 10 years, after Miguel Cotto retired in 2017, but before that, when he was already, thinking of retirement, for the last 5-6 years, we have been trying to cram down people's throats in Puerto Rico the name Felix Verdejo, the name Tito Acosta, and the name Alberto Machado. When all that time, the only one that never disappointed any of us, the one that kept racking up wins, kept dominating divisions, it kept knocking people out, was her, Amanda Serrano. And in Puerto Rico, we don't give her the respect that she deserves. Thankfully, she was on the show. Her manager was on the show too. We were able to, have a couple episodes, and it was really cool. And we talked about it. But still, to this day, back on the island, we prefer to put all of our wishes, all of our hope on one of these guys, that they deserve all the respect in the world. Don't get me wrong, but she's proven. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's proven. They're not. Because in the big moments, unfortunately, the three of them, they didn't deliver. They lost. And that happens in combat sports. You lose. It is what it is. And combat sports are hard enough without all that pressure. They're hard enough. You don't need all that pressure. But the truth is that we've been so unfair to her, to Amanda. And that's, and I don't want to, I went on a tangent again. I'm sorry.
No.
But that's one of the main points, why I built my platform and why I wanted to, show people that, we got to look at this in a different way. At least from the Puerto Rican side. That's what to the Puerto Rican audience. That's what I mean. But Alberto Machado is great. He's very good. He moved to 135, if I'm correct, right? He was at 130. He lost twice against
Cancio.
Cancio, twice, and both were stoppages, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Part of that was him draining himself to make 130.
Yes.
He's so big.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. He's pretty tall.
He's very tall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, he was draining himself. Hopefully, he didn't make too much of. He didn't do too damage on himself, draining himself all those years to make 130. Hopefully, his kidneys are all right, everything's cool.
Yes.
But that whole thing of draining yourself to make a weight that you shouldn't be making on the first place, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. But I think he wins.
Yeah. I like that fight. I feel like he is. I feel like this is a good fight for both of them. New division. I feel like Machado is. I feel like he's finding himself. He's finding himself in a new weight. So he's allowing himself that proper. And it's only 5 pounds, but try to lose 5 pounds in a week, or in a day, or it's a lot, or like 2 days, right, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for Hector, it's a good fight because there's a lot of promise with him, even though he's been dropped by Golden Boy, which I'm pretty sure politics got in that way, because I feel like he's an extremely good fighter. But this is an interesting thing that I just noticed, and I want to know. We've been on for about an hour and 46 seconds, and we've been talking about Puerto Rico, and I just want to know, is it just something that I'm looking deeper in, but it took you almost an hour and maybe 40 seconds, an hour and 40 minutes to mention Miguel Cotto? Is it why? Did he just not have that impact, or is it just like it's just like there's nothing behind it?
I love Miguel Cotto. I can't say I don't. I respect everything he's done. He's top 10 for sure in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Yeah. I have him at number 6, but it doesn't matter. He's a legend. He is the greatest businessman that we've seen of Puerto Rican athletes. The way he transitioned into being a promoter and being a businessman after his career is amazing. That second Margarito fight, I remember watching it when I was working in a restaurant. Incredible fight, and what it meant to beat him, and what it meant to really vanquish that demon, let's say, that was on his back. Yeah, Miguel did some amazing things for sure, and he deserves a lot more respect than what he gets. But he's not the most lovable character. That's what it is. Us Puerto Ricans, we're very passionate people, for good and bad.
Yeah.
And Miguel he's not that type of character. He would, for example, and he's talked about this openly, he hates rallies, those homecoming rallies that they would make for Tito and they make for other athletes. He hates them. He's not that guy. He's not he did not want to be the champion of the people, let's say, let's sell it that way. Tito was. Amanda is. As far as that's what they wanted to be. They didn't just want to be great fighters, make great business in the ring. They also cherished the love of the people. You don't need, if you don't want to, you don't have to. But I think it comes at a cost. I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It comes at a disadvantage, I think, when it comes to the way the people talk about you. But it doesn't matter at the end of the day. If looking at it from his perspective, it doesn't matter. He made his money. He had a legendary career. He fought the greatest he could ever fight. He fought the greatest people in their divisions. He became a 4-division champion, if I'm correct. He did it all. So, man, whatever people say, it doesn't really matter. He was so good.
I think that man, I feel like it's crazy because I feel like that's more of a personality that's just how he is comfortable. And then
Right.
but heavy is the head, right? That always wears
Right.
the crown.
That bears the crown, yeah.
Right. So I totally understand. I totally understand that. Just a last question before I let you go. How did you feel about the accusations of the Margarito and Cotto fight? Do you believe you saw enough? Do you believe there was not enough as far as the hand wraps? And this is like an old topic, I know, but I want to know from your standpoint.
Listen, when it comes to boxing, facts,
Mhm.
Nazim Richardson's word was gospel, and he was the one that found that when he fought Shimos. Remember, he was the one that found the plaster in his hand wraps. Now, did he do it against Miguel? Listen, those pictures look funky. I've been around gyms. I never fought amateur or professionally, but I know how a wrapped hand should look like, and it should not have looked like what Margarito had after the first Miguel Cotto fight. I think he did it. I think the Miguel fight and the Mosley fight was not the first time he did it, for sure. I think he got caught then, but how many times did he do it? Did he do it against Quintana? Did he do it against Paul Williams? Did he do it against Sergio Martinez? I don't know. Could have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could have.
It's sad. It's sad. It's sad. It's sad. That's always. I'm gonna be honest. That's always. That's the side. I just cheating in boxing. It's sickening. I'm not. Because I tried to stand. I tried to stand for what's right on both. Right. Because whatever, true or false, guilt, whatever. I think the second fight, if it was true, the second fight was so gratifying, and it was gratifying. Whether, yeah, I'm gonna just leave it at that.
No, it was.
It was extremely gratifying. Because yeah, you don't know, but if it is true, it makes you more comfortable. Not more comfortable. That second fight, it means more to you.
Yeah, just that little thing we saw. Not even on the first Miguel Cotto fight. Let's say he never used anything until the Shane Mosley fight. That moment in time puts in question his whole career.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, all his accomplishments, all his wins, all his championships. I don't know, man. I think if you use PEDs in baseball, at the end of the day, you're not hitting anybody. You're just hitting a little ball out of the park. Is it cheating? Yes. Is someone's life at risk? No. And that is the main problem. I think there should be a no nonsense, one strike you're banned kind of policy towards this. If you get caught using PEDs, like real PEDs, and you admit to it, you're out. I think you should never be allowed to fight again. Any sport, kickboxing, MMA, boxing, Muay Thai, BJJ, whatever you want to do. I think the damage that you can do to someone's life while using a substance or while using a foreign object, dude, you should go to jail, I think.
I agree. And you know what? I believe if you mandate that, because let's and for some people it may sound like radical to say that, but if you mandate in boxing that any ounce of cheating is going to require you to serve some amount of time, I guess case by case basis, right?
Right.
I promise you will see the amount of people being dirty, whatever, but it will decrease by I'm gonna say 99.9%. You will still have that 1% of that 0.1% of athletes that feel like they can't perform without it, and they're gonna really to risk it. But I think that is a good way to really stop really stop what's going on. We're not saying all boxers are dirty or the great boxers are dirty or whatever. We're not saying. We're just saying that. Well said.
But Big Baby Miller is, and he should never fight again.
And I agree. And I agree. And I'm sorry. And I know it's a form of feeding your family. And that part, it breaks me. But the other part is like, had he not been caught, we don't know what could have happened, and we don't know, right? So we have to think about the other individual, and it's simple because it's to me it's simple. Don't use it, and you don't have anything to worry about. Or if you're using other supplements, you have so many resources at your disposal. Make sure that you know exactly what you're putting in.
Yeah, I agree. There's so many ways to work around it, though, that you don't really. And there's so many conspiracy theories out there about boxing and about PEDs in boxing that I don't even want to get into them. But let's not mention any names. But let's say that hypothetically, there's a great heavyweight champion that only fights in the UK most of the time, and the only time that he fought in the US, he lost. What does that tell you? And that hypothetical heavyweight that only fights in the UK looks like a Greek god. Looks like a bodybuilder. He always fights in the UK, never pops hot for anything. The only time he fights in the US, he loses, hypothetically. What does that tell you? Did he get caught by a way better heavyweight fighter that fight? Yes. But the argument is there that, hey, he didn't feel comfortable using what he usually uses in the US because he was going to get caught. Hypothetically speaking. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if someone can deny it. This hypothetical situation that I was explaining right now, that is neither true or false. But it's people don't look like that guy that we're talking about. No, they don't. They don't. Like, people don't look like that. Look at him. Google him. You know who I'm talking about. Google him right now. Look at him. People don't look like that. He looks like someone carved out of stone. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, it's iffy, because if I don't know. His whole career has been over there. Nothing bad happens. The one moment he hops on a plane to fight over here, he loses. I don't know, man. The argument has to be there. The boxing has been around long enough for people to work their way around tests. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to, accuse anybody or say anything wrong, but there is an argument in there somewhere. And also, to finish, the UFC, specifically the UFC, the company, they're working with USADA, which is the best anti-doping agency that we know. So does boxing have something like that? Is VADA as good as USADA? Does everybody get on the same program? Because USADA is crazy.
Both, right? Why not have both?
Yeah, USADA is crazy. USADA, all the UFC fighters have an app on their phone from USADA, and they have to report weekly where they are. And the tests can be super random. You can get tested 3 times the same week, or you can get tested 2 times in 6 months. You don't know. Mm-hmm. So you can get on a cycle, because if you get on a cycle of whatever PD, you get a knock on your door. Now what you're going to do? You're going to pee in a cup, and you're going to be in trouble. You can't, you know what I mean? Does that happen in boxing? I don't know.
Yeah. That level of uncertainty, like, oh man, I could be on my way to my next whatever, and then at that moment, it will deter you. And it's from the hand wraps to the PEDs, and I mean this sincerely. If they're those people, because at some level, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna just keep you this last moment. At some level, there is an internal affair going on that is making it happen, because hand wraps have to be checked. I mean, they have to be signed off on. So there is something somewhere where someone is just picking up the rug so someone can sweep just a little bit of dust in order to make these things possible.
Yeah, on the particular Miguel and Margarito subject, what I heard is that they didn't send anybody. They didn't send anybody to the Margarito corner that that first fight,
See?
apparently. So they didn't see nothing, So if they didn't send anybody from the Kodo corner to the Margarito locker room, so they couldn't see anything. On the Mosley fight, not only did they send somebody from the Mosley camp to the Margarito locker room, they sent Nazim Richardson, who is an God
Yeah,
rest his soul.
yes.
He was an encyclopedia of boxing. He knew boxing from the A to the Z. He knew all the tricks. Like, he knew everything. Like, he could have caught Panama Lewis. If you do you remember Panama Lewis, the guy with Aaron Pryor's coach?
I don't. I'll be honest.
Dude, yeah, you got look. He's I don't want to waste your time, but look into it. He's one of boxing's black eyes. He was a great coach, but then eventually he made a turn when he shouldn't have made a turn, and he started cheating, and he's responsible for that the Louis Resto hand wrap controversy. Long story, Google it. Everybody that's listening to this. So Nazim Richardson, he knew every trick. He could have caught any cheating tactic from a mile away. He was so good, and that was an advantage that Shane Mosley had. Because if he would have sent just a newbie trainer back there, we don't know what would have happened.
Yeah, and also, last thing, I'm so sorry. His moral compass was I mean, Nazim, he was like one of those souls in boxing that he's deeply missed because of what he represented, which was morality and respect in the sport.
He was so good. He was such a great trainer too.
Yeah.
I hated him for a little bit because he was Hopkins' trainer when Hopkins beat Tito, but it is what it is. They broke my heart then, but it's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Man, but brother, it's been a pleasure. We have to make this thing a reoccurrence.
Yeah.
Man. Vice versa, if you want me on your show, but definitely
Let's go.
Well welcomed whenever you want, man. Like, man, you have this link. So this link, as long as you have this link, you want to pop in. I don't care who is on, man. You always you hear one of my friends talking crazy or something, or anything you want to chime in, man. Feel free, brother, to anytime. Mi casa, su casa, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, man, if you want to do anything after any of the big fights, I'm here. Just let me know, and then I'll hop on for sure.
Yes, sir. And just one more time for the fans, man, let them please know where they can hear this insight, this wisdom that you have in combat sports, because I mean, it's rich, man. It's meaningful. I mean, it's 2020, man. Where can people find you? How can they hear this guidance, insight, and wisdom, man?
Yeah, you're going too far.
I have to be honest, because I have to be honest, because I want you to know that what stepping on this podcast, what that means to me. I'm being honest. I learned a lot from you just spending this time. So I genuinely mean it, and I don't mean it to make it sound good or to because I genuinely mean it, man. So let people know where they can find you.
No, thank you, man. Thank you for having me here, because it's been a pleasure, and let's do it again. So people can find me on any social media as El Pugilato, Pugilato, El Pugilato, and on any of your favorite podcast platforms, name it, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, whatever you want to do. You can find it under El Pugilato Podcast. And if you want to watch all my content on YouTube, please do, so I can rack up the watched hours and then eventually become a partner to YouTube and get some money. Please go to youtube.com/El Pugilato TV. El Pugilato TV. That's where I upload all my videos, all my fight breakdowns, and what I feel about the upcoming fights. And also, the part that I love the most is that I upload conversations like these. Whenever I have people on my show, then I upload it there. Also on the podcast, but if you can watch it, that's better. Not when you're driving, but when you're not doing anything. So that's my favorite part, is that I get to upload those conversations that mean a lot to me. And also support the ladies that fight, please, everybody out there. We need more ladies fighting. If you know a lady that fights MMA, boxing, whatever, support her. There's a lot of guys, but society is still moving towards normalizing the girls banging it out just like the dudes do. So let's normalize that, man. Violence is violence, and we love it.
And it's art, and there's no bad art.
There's no bad art. There's no bad art. It's art.
Yeah. Man, Box Tunnel, there you have it. My man, Angel David Castro. Wow. It's been a pleasure, brother. Thank you so much, man. God bless you, man. And yeah, this can't be the last time we exchange conversations or chop it up, man. This cannot be. There's no way.
It's not. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. I love talking boxing and just fighting in general with people that know what they're talking about. And this space that you built and you're going to continue to build for sure is going to turn out great. It's going to be a great project, and we're going to look back at this first conversation with pride when we both make it.
Yeah, man. God bless, brother. I appreciate you so much, man.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Adios. There you have it. Wow, amazing podcast. I mean, I really can't even put to words how rich in content that podcast was, man. I appreciate everyone tuning in, everyone dropping the comments, the likes, the questions, prophecy, and everyone. Yes, man. I mean, gosh, it doesn't get better than that, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you all. Tomorrow there is amazing boxing on ESPN and Showtime. Hey, watch it, enjoy it, observe it, all of it. But once again, from Box Tunnel, thank you so much. You can follow us on all at Box Tunnel. That's Instagram platforms. And if you want, you can follow me on my private pages, OYNFYO on Instagram and _YNFY_ on Twitter. Ladies and gentlemen, from Box Tunnel, thank you so much. Box Tunnel, your passage for all boxing news. God bless. We're out.